Hello, hello, everyone. I'm Emily,
Ska.
and welcome back to another episode of the Cottage Chores podcast.
I don't have a witty intro for this one. I don't have a segue point. I didn't think that far ahead. Oops. Of all the things I prepped for this, that wasn't one of them.
It's okay. I think it's more fun when you do it on the fly anyway.
That's true.
Now I've put too much pressure on you.
Brain said no. Let me reach into my bowls and pull out a segue point like the reaping. What? That's crazy. How did that work? Wade. It's the Hunger Games.
I think for one of our episodes, we just need to look at all your segues and rank them.
Yeah, this one's the worst. I'm pretty confident this is F tier.
Yeah, this is the worst. But yes, today we are talking about the Hunger Games because the day this episode comes out is the release of Sunrise on the Reaping.
Oh my god. When that first got announced, my whole life changed. I was like, finally, a new
so
era,
valid.
the revival. Obviously we had a bit of the revival anyway, but I was just like, it's time.
I love that
It's
the
time for
book
more
and
Suzanne
movie,
Collins mastery.
I love that the book and the movie got dropped on the same day. They were like, "Oh no, we are confident in this. You're getting both. Here you go."
It was iconic. Yeah. I am so curious. I'm so fascinated by the formatting of the book, especially. But like the movie, I'm here for vibes. Like, just deliver me anything, it'll be good. But the book, I'm just like, what is it going to entail? How much is it going to span? Is it just the games?
Yes. And here's my thing with the movies. Okay, I adore the Hunger Games books. Okay, and I do love the movies. However, I think as adaptations, they're only okay. Reason being is because all of the books, like the trilogy, is all from Katniss's point of view, and then Songbirds and Snakes is obviously from Coriolanus's point of view, and so you miss a lot of that inner dialogue that is really hard to translate on screen. So to me, the movies are good, and I think that as far as book to movie adaptations go, they're probably on the stronger end, but there's still a lot that's lacking for me that we just don't get the depth of.
Yeah, you definitely don't get the personal development points or personal undevelopment points.
Because I feel like
the one.
I haven't watched Songbirds and Snakes yet, but I feel like people who really like Coriolanus and are like, I can fix him, only watched the movie and only think Tom Blythe is hot.
Yeah, I would agree with that sentiment. I do think it does a pretty like you said, is it the strongest? Is it the strongest adaptation in the world? No. But in comparison to other book to movie ones, 100%. I think they obviously there's things that are cut and things that have changed, but I think overall, the way that they did all the beats and the characters is brilliant. I have no complaints with it. I do think though there is a little bit more of Songbirds and Snakes is interesting because there is more of a focus on Lucy Gray, which I'm not technically mad about because I like that for the movie, especially when the whole narrative, I guess kind of entering spoiler territory if you haven't entered it, but the whole idea of her haunting the narrative of the franchise, her games gets wiped away. We lose that footage, but then to actually have the movie be actual footage of her games, we see stuff that when you're reading it from Snow's perspective, we don't see a lot of the stuff. We don't see her with Jessup when he's really struggling because he can't see that. He's just where is she? Hello?
Yeah.
Miss Girl, where are you? Let me send you food. Whereas we're actually with her, which I think is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously you get less of his whatever's going on in his brain. His weird feelings and weird vibes he's got going on.
He is insufferable. Which don't get me wrong, I didn't expect him not to be, knowing who he is in the trilogy, but still.
Yeah. No, it's phenomenal that you can write a character where in moments you're you feel somewhat sympathetic towards in the ideas of oh, this is pretty fucking shit, there's some pretty bad stuff's happened, but then you're also you're just such a knob.
Yes. God, every time he would make a possessive comment about Lucy.
Ew. I wanted to throw up. Yeah,
yes.
That's something you don't get in the movie, obviously, because he's not out there being all weird about
That's
it.
my girl.
He's a lot more distant, I feel like, in the movie. Like obviously there is still that like romantic element there, but I feel like there is a lot more of like he's trying to be very like brooding and like mysterious. Whereas like in the book he's very much like he's giving down bad, but then he's still an absolute mug. So like I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you okay, King?
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there. There's a lot going on there. I'm like, bruh. Yeah.
It is. The whole series is so phenomenal though, and I mentioned this to you in a text, like, yes, I know she wrote the prequel after she wrote the trilogy, but still the way that everything gets weaved together to, like, fully encapsulate into the trilogy was absolutely beautiful. Like, oh my god, when Lucy's sitting there writing The Hanging Tree, and it's literally talking about
Mhm.
Arlo getting hanged, I was like
It
I
is
was shook. It was so good.
like, and I know like there are other things, like there are other writers who do this, but it takes someone with such a brilliant brain to be able to have through threads that, yeah, like you said, obviously they're written like out of order, but still like to have the forethought to be like, I need to ensure that there is like somewhat of continuity here. And like especially because
Mhm.
like we'd kind of had bits and pieces of like the past before, but like it's very like, well, but how do you make it feel very like it is real and was correct and everything makes logical sense? Like her references to Katniss, like everything like that. I'm like, it feels very
Mhm.
organic. It also doesn't feel forced either. Like it could feel very like, haha, remember this thing from those other books? Well, it first showed up here. And you're like, ew, what the fuck? It's like, no, it feels all very like lovely, flowing, like, yeah.
Yeah, even, like, there was, like, at one point that the grandma made, like, a throwaway comment about, like, something catching fire, and I was just like, "She said the thing, she said the
She said
thing."
the thing. My like listen, I one of my favorite like things from the and I remember when this was like in the trailer, I was gagged because I was like, this is like such a fucking like it's such a cheesy line, but it's so fucking good when like High Bottom's like do you hear that? It's the sound of snow falling. I was like, he fucking ate with that line. Like,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
It's so fucking good. It's so fucking good. And then when I read that in the, like when I was reading it in the book, it's like at the end of the chapter as well. I was like, bruh, mic drop, get
Yes, yes, it was so, so good, and it's so fascinating because we know obviously Snow is not a good person, but, like, to see to see so much of, like, what like, he wasn't a good person to begin with. He was an
troubled.
elitist,
Yeah,
and
he was always gonna
he
be
was
on
a
a not
snobby
great
rich
path.
kid. Yes.
Yeah,
But to see how much shaped him because of this situation, to see, like it just really drives home why he hates Katniss so much. Like, it's
hmm
more than just her starting the revolution, because she really did not mean to do that, and we know that, like but, like, it really just drives home why he hates her so much, and it's so, so good.
it's so good. And like the connection to roses and everything, like we fully get like all those moments and things. Like it's just such nice,
Mhm.
like yeah, like it's he was already like a brilliant like antagonist, like anti-hero, like already, but to have more of a
Mhm.
backstory and like understanding of his belief system is like it's super cool. Like it's very unique because I think it's also like obviously as you said like with the trilogy being from like Katniss's perspective, you obviously get her POV. And it's like almost interesting to kind of understand the capital point of view as like twisted as it is. It's like no, these people genuinely do just like sit here and think this. Like they think like they got it right. And I'm like, what? Hello? You good? And like you get
Yeah,
like
no,
Flickerman
it's
coming in and I'm like, oh my god, the Flickerman era begins. Like, yes.
I know it was so fun to, like, hear all of those, like, little names that, like, we know in the
Yeah.
trilogy, and like, oh, that's their, like, ancestor, and what's really interesting is, like, they're not generations apart, like,
No,
it's
no.
very close to who we would see in the trilogy.
Yeah, yeah, it's just fascinating getting more like I always love world building and the world building is already so strong. And then when you get like
Mhm,
extra like understanding of things, especially like the science of the games, because I always thought that was like fascinating. Like I like in the movies when you're like watching especially when you're watching Catching Fire and you're like watching them like when you get the games maker's perspective and they have all the screens up. I'm like this is so like fascinating because it's like this is like a full like obviously it is, but like it's a full like ass like technology scheme. There's people like sat there like little headsets on everything. I'm like, damn. So we're actually getting like the beginnings of it becoming more sophisticated and not just like smacking each other around in a ring. It's like, no, this is the beginning of like we have technology, we have ways, we have abilities to, like, throw in stuff, the food, the betting, everything starts to, like, amp up, and I'm like, this is when it, like, tanked, like, this is when it became, like, truly the Hunger Games. All because
Yeah,
of some
it's
weird ass white boy.
and I will say it's gonna be really interesting with Sunrise on the Reaping because it's only 15 years later.
Yeah.
So,
See
like,
how much has changed?
how much is going to have evolved in those
Mhm.
15 years is going to be super interesting. I am curious though, like, with Sunrise on the Reaping in general, like, what exactly is the story we're gonna get? Because, listen, if it's just a book about Haymitch's games, listen, I'm here, I'm sat. Suzanne Collins, you could write the dictionary and I would read it, like, I'm here. But, like, in Catching Fire, I feel like we get pretty much the story of his whole game, so, like, there's nothing surprising. We know he wins, we know how he wins, we know, like, aftermath of him winning and, like, the result of him unintentionally but intentionally using the game against the Capitol, like, we know all of that. So I'm curious to see what other perspectives we get in there. I'm especially curious, do we know when Snow becomes president? Like, would he be president at this point?
Well, I don't know when that transition because he was obviously going to work under Dr. Gore, and then he had, like, poisoned Highbottom, hadn't he, with the vials?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I want to say, like, potentially, like, 15 years would be enough time for that to be established.
Yeah.
I don't know actually if when do we actually know when his first, like, game in charge was? Surely
I don't
that
know.
must be out there somewhere. But maybe
I'm
not.
I'm gonna
Maybe
look
it's
it
just,
up.
like,
I'm
another
gonna
one of
look up when.
yeah. I was gonna say, 'cause I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I think what's interesting about, like, Haymitch's games is, like you said, we do know so much, and it's like going into that book knowing, like pretty much, well, if we are seeing, like, because I'm assuming we will at least get some of the game's perspective, like him in the games. But it's like knowing all these people die, like that's such a weird thing to go walk into, like knowing those beats. But obviously, you get more of his, like, internal dialogue monologue vibe going on.
So, I looked it up. He becomes president at age 23.
Holy shit! So, like, wow,
So in 5 years from Songbirds and Snakes,
yeah.
that man becomes president, which is terrifying.
I know it was, like, really young, but then I was like, how young was he? Like, damn, that's
That's
wild.
scary.
Yeah, so at that
Who
yeah, so
voted
in
for
fact,
that
so
man?
they're all just weirdos anyway. But, yeah, so he would have been in charge for a long time by that point, like, a fairly decent chunk of time. So
Mhm.
there's enough of his own making in it as well. Ooh,
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of, like, ways things can go.
Yeah, and I'm especially curious because she's never done split POVs before.
Mm, yeah,
So, like, is that something she's going to introduce?
maybe. I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause I do find that I do like that we're, like I do like that we don't, but I also think, like, it would be interesting to get potentially like, it'd be interesting if Haymitch is because I think it won't be, I think it'll be just from his point of view, but, like, if you got it from his ally, like, his the other District 12 tribute as well, like, if they kind of switch between their 2 perspectives. I know
You
obviously,
mean
like,
the other
you
3?
know well,
There's 4
there's so much. Oh, I forgot.
because it's
There's, like
double tributes for the Quarter Quell.
yeah, but who's the one who, like,
Marceline.
shoots the dart? Yeah. Like, it'd be interesting if we get their point of view. But then it's
Yeah,
also
I
like,
agree.
you'd also lose, like, it but then you also lose it, and does that then lose the integrity of it because you would only have it like,
Yeah,
who would
I'm
else
curious
would
too
be the
because I don't know if you read the little, like, snippet that was
a
put
little
out
bit,
there,
yeah, yeah.
but, like,
The
we're
little bit.
starting on reaping day, much
Yeah,
like
I know.
Katniss, like, we're jumping right in, there's no lead up to it.
That's why it's interesting because I wonder, like, it can't just be games perspective then.
Yeah,
Like, there has to be post games, at least a little bit, like 'cause it's like
mhm.
400
I mean,
pages. I mean, not that you can't write 400 pages of all our games, I'm sure you can, but
well, let's see, I'm just curious, I'm gonna grab Songbirds because that one was what,
that's like 500
3
pages.
oh, 500, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big book.
Yeah, so, I mean, how much is Hunger Games then as comparison? Oh, Hunger Games is 360.
Yeah. So you could.
So,
You definitely could.
I I think there's gotta be more to it, though, because, like, Suzanne Collins has been very clear about she doesn't write just just to make a book. She
Exactly, yeah.
writes with a purpose, and she writes because she has something to say, and these books do have a lot of reflection into, especially now, current day, the
Mhm.
political climate, but even then when they were originally published, it was a reflection of that, and so I feel like there's definitely going to be something something else there. I think especially because we already know the outcome of the games, like, we know Haymitch wins. We know all that, so, like, I don't think we're gonna spend that much time in the arena. I also think Haymitch is a very interesting character, like, he's already a kind of cynical person,
Yeah.
understandably so, but
Yeah.
so I think it's definitely going to be more post-game
Well,
footage.
especially, like, with what happens, like, post games with him as well. Like,
Yes.
I feel like you have to touch on that.
Well, I'm also curious. I'm curious because we don't know, in the last 15 years how stuff has been established. Obviously, they decided that the students being mentors was a bad idea. We're not doing that anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
When do the other victors become mentors? Like, when does that come in? Obviously, though, Haymitch would not have a mentor. So, like,
No. So, yeah, that's the thing because we obviously know, like, Snow says that about the like the incentives of the games of having prize money, having them
mhm,
watch it. He establishes the village, so we know that's becoming a thing. So there's a
mhm,
turning point somewhere, and I wonder maybe if like the epilogue of this book will be him being told like you are going to become a mentor. I wonder if that because then it's like we are now kind of at almost at the start again, not at the start, but like we're almost back up to date at that point. I know like he's been a mentor for a bit, but like we're back at his like original story arc kind of thing. Like if
mhm.
it's
Yeah.
like the discussion of mentorism going on there, but I don't know. Yeah,
I like simultaneously do and don't want this if like the epilogue is going to be like the morning of Katniss's games. Like,
that'd be
I
sick.
think it would be really cool, but it also wouldn't be cool. Like, is it too, like, gimmicky to do that a little bit? But also, I feel like it would be so full circle that it would be really cool.
It would be cool. I would like. I think it would be cool. I think there's a way that you can do it that doesn't feel like almost fan servicey. I think there's a way that you can do it that
Yeah.
feels very like genuine. Like especially like if it ends on like their first like interaction. Like you just kind of
Yes.
cut that back into it. Because like I said, I think having those like beats like you have that baton passing, like you have those threads continuing on. And obviously you have the thread in this one because Haymitch is the thread. But it'd
Mhm.
be nice to have like a little bit more of like something else going on there. Yeah, yeah, because like I said, because especially because like every time she's like, I know like not every time, but the past two times now that she's like announced that she's like, here's a prequel. Big world events have happened, and as you said, like she does, she wants to say stuff. So I'm like, there's got to be more than just here's him winning his games because that isn't that's
Yeah.
commentary she's done before. It's old at this point from her perspective.
Because
Like,
like, especially if she was going to write just another games for the sake of writing another games, like, let's say she has no message, there's so many other games she could have picked other than
yeah,
Haymitch's, like, people want Phoenix, people want Joanna's, like, there are other games she could have told that we don't know the story, like, the full story to, like, obviously, yes, we know Finnick and Joanna win, but, like, there's other ones that we don't know as much detail to that she could have gone with if she just wanted to write another Hunger Games for the sake of writing
it's
Hunger
an
Games.
interesting character choice. Because I know Haymitch is like he definitely has become like more loved, but like obviously when it started out, people were like, "Ew, he's a bit annoying." But like, I know he has become
No,
more
I love
beloved.
Haymitch.
So do I. But I know like I remember like people had like quite a bad sentiment around him, and I think now we've kind of like people are like no, like we've kind of understand where he's
Here's
coming from. He wouldn't
here's
be
the thing
Gordon's
with
first
Haymitch.
choice. Yeah.
The thing with Haymitch is the movies. That's really the problem, because I think Woody Harrelson does a fine job playing him, and I think Woody Harrelson is a good actor, but the problem is Woody Harrelson tends to bring Woody Harrelson into, like, every role that he does, and I think a lot of the depth of Haymitch was lost in the movies because, like, the relationship between Katniss and Haymitch is so much more, like, intertwined in the books, and again, that's
Hmm.
partly because we lost Katniss's POV, but, like, Haymitch is such a brilliantly written character in the books. His movie adaptation saddens me.
Yeah, I think it also falls flat because they're trying, for the movie's purpose, it's trying so hard to focus on, like, Katniss and Peter, like, that they are meant to be the driving force in that,
Yes.
like, their differences of perspective, like, the rest of them do kind of fall to the wayside, and, like, understandably so, right? Like, that is meant to be the narrative that's going through, but yeah, he does lose a bit of his, like, what is going on in his
Especially
head. I'm like, he's a
especially in the
troubled
first
man.
movie, I feel
He
like
just
he's almost meant to
exists.
be comedic relief.
He just exists there, and I'm like, "Hello?"
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it definitely needs a bit
I
more.
reread the trilogy just last year, and I was just like, "Oh, I forgot how amazing this character is," especially him and Katniss as, like, foils of each other.
Yes, exactly, exactly. We do get more of that, like, in the movies, I will say, but, like, yeah, that
Mhm.
first one, it just feels like he's just kind of like, well, like, why is he here? Like, he's not very good at
Yeah,
what he's doing, and I'm like, that's kind of like, yeah, of course he's not. Why would he be
yeah.
pleased? Like, no one's gonna be chuffed to be doing this. Like, yay, I can't wait to ship children off to death. Hooray me.
Well, especially now that we know that the reaping is his birthday.
Birthday. That is so fucked. That is so fucked.
Suzanne Collins, when I catch you.
Imagine giving birth, like, 'cause I'm sure he's, like, obviously he's, like, not the only child whose birthday is the reaping, but imagine giving birth to a child and their birthday is the reaping. I fucking, like, bruh.
I would cross my legs. This
I'd be
baby's
like,
not coming out.
"Write that birth certificate right now, bestie. Ain't no way. Ain't no way." Just, like, put your
Also,
hand there and just, like, be like, "No, no, no."
the way I forgot the reaping takes place on Independence Day, wild.
Yeah, I mean, another one of those, like, little commentary moments where it's like, you know, she knew. She didn't just pick a date for vibes,
Oh,
like, you
yeah, no,
know.
it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
All those little things, I'm like, "Oh,
What
it's got
I
some brain
okay,
cells ticking up there."
here I do have one question, though.
Mhm.
In okay, Panem is the United States, I know that. There was a war, things happened, we are where we are. I will say it is kind of more relevant now, but, like, where is the rest of the world?
This has always been something that I have been fascinated by. But I also think it's quite unique commentary because, like, okay, no offense, I'm a, but
Mhm,
America tends to be very America centric, and, like, don't get me wrong, I think other countries do also do, like, the UK definitely feels like we are bigger than we are, and like we are fucking, like, tiny, tiny, tiny. But, like, when, especially, like, on social media, and, like, don't get me wrong, you're in a horrible social, political, like, economical climate. Awful, awful, awful. Like, there is not
mhm.
this, I'm not even trying to be like, it's not bad. It is. But when you see, like, online, on social media, on things like TikTok, when the Americans talk about the world, they are talking about the world. They are talking about America. And that is fine. It is fine because you're allowed to be like, I can't think about outside because my current is bad. And that is very true. But it's very, like, localized. And I think that is a very
Mhm.
strong point where it's like, but it's also like you can't begin to fight outside until you fought inside as well. Like, the rebellion
Yeah.
only works building up, which is why it's important, but it's also like no one cares about what's going on elsewhere. Like, you have everything you need. Like, from the capital's perspective, everything you need and everything that's relevant is right there. Is right here. Who gives a toss? You don't. You've
No,
got the control, you've got the vibes, like, it's quite, I don't know if that's the intention, but, like, that's kind of how I, like, see it as someone, like, on the outside, where I'm like,
yeah. No,
"Mm."
and that's totally valid. I'm more just curious, like, what does the rest of the world think of the United States now Pan Am? Like, I mean, I think current political climate shows
Yeah,
us they really
I
would
think
not give a shit. They would let the United States fall
I
to
think it is
pieces.
very, I think it very much is like, "Not my circus, not my monkeys." Like, there's nothing we
Yeah.
can do. Like, how can you win a battle against one of the biggest nations against someone who is so in turmoil, right? Like, that applies both ways where it's like, you don't wanna be, like, their enemy. You don't wanna piss them off
Yeah.
by being like, "No, no, no." But you also don't wanna be, like, their bestie because 'cause you're like, "I don't wanna be involved with that either." You kinda just like,
Yeah.
"I'll just exist over here and, like, you do your thing, I'll do mine." Yeah.
I just think about, like, obviously social media changes a lot of narratives, but I just think about, like, another country. If they were to, like, all of a sudden start doing the Hunger Games, I feel like people would be like, "Maybe we don't do that to kids."
Yeah. I do wonder what it's like, I don't wanna bring this up as a comparison, I'm not meaning it as a comparison, but, you know, The One Who Shall Not Be Named and their series being focused European, like, in the UK,
Mhm.
and then eventually retroactively being like, No, don't worry, guys. They exist elsewhere too. Do I think that's what Suzanne Collins is going to do? And do I think she should have forgotten about the rest of the world? No, obviously not. But I think it potentially would be interesting if there is like a breakage point of like, this is what's going on elsewhere. But I also think I don't think that adds anything. I don't really
No,
care. And that's
it's one
also
of those
exactly
things
what
that I
she
think about.
wants. Like, she doesn't want you to care about what other people are doing and if other people are not doing the Hunger Games, because the point is you want the Hunger Games, and it's so sick and twisted. I'm like,
No,
it's so sick and twisted.
the way that, like, do I want Sunrise on the Reaping? Yes. Do I want another movie? Yes, absolutely. Am I, like, low-key excited for whatever stage adaptation of The Hunger Games is happening in the UK? Yes. Do I also recognize that to a degree that makes me no better than the Capital citizens who are, like, excited and celebrating these games? Yes. And it's so
She
hard. But it's such
literally,
an interesting,
yeah.
like, it's interesting introspect into humans. Like, she nailed it.
Yeah. No, she gets it. Like, that's the thing, like, as I said to you, like, I was like, when the stage thing came out, like, everyone was like, "Oh my god, I'm so excited, I love this." And then I was like, "Yeah, I'm so," and then I was like, "But, like, this is weird, like, because this is, like, a stage adaptation, and we are the, like, in district seating, and we are watching an adaptation of the Hunger Games." And as I said to you, like, is the pricing gonna be district-based? Because District 12 is, like, on the outside with the center and, like, and so I'm like, obviously the cheaper tickets are gonna be on the outside, which is District 12 a lot. Like, there's so much going on there, and it's like, I'm like, "Did I sign up yet?" But now I'm like, "Man, like, no."
It's also interesting because, like, yes, you're choosing to go see that, but also in a way you're like the districts being sat and forced to watch this play out in front of you with no
Yes!
control. And so it's like, this
Exactly.
is this too meta? It feels a
It's
little.
it is, it does. It feels so, like, weird because 'cause I'm like, I don't wanna be like, "Yes, I love the Hunger Games," because it sounds like I want children to die, but I'm also like, "But it is a good franchise, like, I enjoy it, like, I love it." Like, I'm sorry, Suzanne. I'm
No, I
sorry.
agree. I agree. It's such a weird, like, fine
Like, I
line
promise I'm
to, like,
self-aware.
yes. Listen, it's fine. We're self-aware, so therefore we are not part of the problem.
Yeah. No, I know, but we still aid.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it is fascinating because I saw, like, a TikToker, and I don't know their name, so I can't credit them, but they were basically, like, they pulled statistics of all of the, like, the numbers in the US of books sold and, like, money made by the movies and the books. So, like, how many copies were
Mm,
sold of
mhm.
the books and how much the movies made. And they're like, when you look at it like this, you're like, this is like, obviously, part of it's like, yes, we're celebrating good literature, like good movies, like 100%. Like, we should support the arts, support media. But also, like, this is fucked that we're like out here being like, yeah, give me more. Like, it's obviously not that
Yeah.
literal, but it is, it's part of the messaging there. And I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah, we're pretty bad, huh?
You
Yee.
know what? You know what I want a story of, though? I want Tigress's story.
I would love that. I do want someone, obviously, I know they're all connect. I know, like, I know, like, all of the relevant people, and I put that term loosely because I think everyone's relevant, because even
Mhm.
if you're just, like, a random person in a district, you are relevant to the system in place there. But I would like, even if it was, like, a short story or just some sort of, like, perspective of someone who is not directly, like, I know Tyrus becomes kind of involved with the games, but someone who's not directly involved with the games, either as, like, being involved in any capacity, like being a game maker, being a tribute, being a mentor. Like, I think that'd be interesting to completely see it, like them watching it on the TV, like whatever that kind of capacity
Mhm.
might be, and that kind of how that all looks from somewhere else. And someone like Tigers would be interesting, but like even someone like, I know we kind of like, I know Effie's also like, then you're just kind of taking that pool of characters, but like someone like that where it's like, I don't know, there's something there. Like, imagine if we got like Lucky's perspective of him. Okay, just give me a short story of just all these random perspective points of the game, just jumble
Yes.
them up. It's
I just
interesting.
I just wanna know, like, obviously, you can infer with Tigress. She knows too much,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
and she could really undo a lot for Coriolanus. So, like, I get that, but I'm curious to know what the tipping point was. What was the final straw that,
That
like,
is true.
he dismissed her? like, dismissed her because clearly, like, she was a stylist, and so he brought her in because he trusted her. So at what point did that line of trust get
Yeah.
broken? To the point
I
that
wonder if
she wanted Katniss to kill him.
I wonder if I wonder if she found out about, like, Sejanus or something. Like, I wonder if that was, like, where things, because I think, like, it becomes interesting of, like, she's an interesting character because she recognizes the faults in him. Like, there's points
Mhm,
in Songbirds and Snakes where, like, she brings it up and she's like, or, like, there's acknowledgement, like, when he comes back from the arena. Like, there's, she knows what happened. She's not stupid.
mhm,
I find it interesting also to what that reaction was when he returns
mhm,
from being a peacekeeper. Like, what was that conversation like, especially returning, and I'm presumingly, like, the plimps would have said, like, "Our fucking son died?" Like, I don't know what they would have, like, like, there's something there where I'm like, I wonder if it was just there is no redeemable qualities to you anymore. Like, before
mhm,
I could potentially be like, you just got swept and twisted because you were a mentor, you didn't have a choice, but now you're making
mhm.
active choices. But it is
I just want that
like,
timeline. Like,
she was
what?
making soup and shit, or, like, little bread. Like, she was doing all sorts.
Yeah,
Cooking him up dinners. It's like,
she's
yes,
doing great.
queen.
She probably sold her body just
Mm.
to keep them living, like,
Yeah.
which is so sad.
But every time, like, he would talk about, like, their home life, I was like, I don't think you realize, like, just how torrid this is for, like,
Yeah.
the women in your I was like,
Of course he doesn't. He's misogynistic.
"No, I know that." That's why it's like he's like tone deaf. He's, like, so tone deaf. He's like, "Oh, I hope she's eaten." And I'm like, "Bitch, she clearly is not eating." Or, like he's like, "Oh, she eats raw, like, food that, like, nibbles on the raw steak or what, not raw steak, but the raw meat before, like, putting it in the stew." I was like, "D dude, this is an eating disorder. Can we just You're just so stupid. Are you actually brain dead?" But
Yes,
he's just
yes, he
there
is.
like, "Blah, blah, blah, backstory stuff, proper name." He just is. Oh god.
Since you brought him up, let's talk about Sejanus.
Oh my god. Ugh.
Here's the thing.
There's so much to unpack
He
there. There's so much to unpack there.
he's so tragic, and, like, I get it. Like, at his core, he was just too good of a person to survive in this world, but at the same time, I just wanted to shake him and tell him to shut the fuck up.
No, it's one of those things where it's like, you can be like, because it's interesting because, like, especially when he goes to 12, like, that dissolve that he goes under, where it's like he is too good
Mhm,
that he becomes bad, like, because he's almost going against stuff that he probably, whilst he has that helper gene, he probably wouldn't have ever done that, but he had reached his breaking point
mhm,
prior to that, and he was already at terms with the fact that he had, like, died. Like, he had died. Like, him leaving the capital, like, him leaving District 2 was him dying, but, like, him leaving the capital
yeah,
was his death. Like, he could never return there with, like, his father. Like, he knew that was it. With, like, the money and everything, like, we knew that was it for him. But, like, yeah,
mhm,
I don't know. That's the thing. I'm like, you have so much, like, it was so sad when you, like, read the perspective of him being like, "Ew, he's not my friend," and then you have, like, Sejanus be like, "You're, like, my best friend." I'm like, I am gonna scream.
yeah. It's infuriating. It's so infuriating. Sejanus deserved
I'm
better.
like, you were so manipulated and so used by so many people in your life,
Mhm.
and so many people, like, walked on you. No, that made me, like, it was devastating. I was just like, I just can't even.
The way his last words were yelling for his mom,
No, I literally am like, "Get the fuck out." In the
I
movie, like, that whole sequence of events is literally made me I was sobbing. I was bawling my fucking eyes out. I was like, "This is horrendous." Like,
so I
I
listened
did.
to the audiobook.
Yeah, I can imagine it's fucking horrific.
They just kept repeating "ma" over and over, and it was horrible.
No, simply not. Simply not.
Okay, question for
I
you.
was not built for that. Yeah.
Do you think
Straw. I'm unwell.
do you think Lucy Gray lived?
I think yes.
I think yes too.
I to what like not to what extent. Obviously, she lived or she didn't. There's no there's no in between. But like to like, I think I'm so curious because I do think she lived. And do I have an answer of where, why, how? No, I don't. And that's why it's interesting because I wonder. I think because she was with the Covey, I have belief that she has a, like, and because she also won the games as well. She has some sort of
Mhm.
like survival instinct, ability to stand up for herself. I'm so interested to. I almost don't want to know because that's kind of the idea that she continues to haunt the narrative. Like, is she blank? Is she blank? Who? Where is she? What is she? But I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm so curious to know if she witnessed, like, if she not chose, but like, if she had the knowledge and witnessed what happened with Snow.
Mhm.
I almost kind of want, like, if she did live and she lived like long enough to witness him like take charge of the games or potentially even like, you know, the rebellion coming in, I'd be so interested to like see that, like, or hear that, read that kind of like, I don't know. There's
Yeah.
like, I'm
I
just like,
agree. She she definitely made it out of those woods. Like you said, to what
100%, yeah.
end does she continue to live? That's hard to say. I like to think she made it to District 13,
Mhm. Yeah. I
but
yeah.
because
I
like,
think I think
I was getting the vibe that that's, like, what they were kind of alluding to and saying, like, "Oh, there's people in the North outside of the capital
mhm.
and everything." So, like,
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
under the
yeah.
impression we're alluding to 13, so that I like to think she made it up there, but I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah. I would like to think that as well. I don't know either. And that's the thing, like, that's exactly what the problem is. It's like you just don't you just
We don't
that,
know.
like that, like, the last couple of, like, chapters and pages in the book where he's, like, in the woods is so good because that is, like, one of the best parts of the movie is that, like, final bit, like, that final, like,
Mhm.
15-10 minutes is like, it is not it's not, like, shot for shot, obviously, 'cause it's a fucking book to a movie, but, like, it is, like, I think it's perfectly encapsulated in tone with the rest of the movie. It's so like, when he's shouting in the woods, oh, it is, like, gutting. It is gutting.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. When he was like, "Oh, I killed 3 people," when he tried to cover up his mistake by being like, "Oh, I killed my old self," I was like, "Fuck off. Fuck off. Ain't no one falling for that, you silly little man."
The way he literally could have just said that he felt responsible for Sejanus because that was his best friend.
Yeah.
Like, that's all
I
you
would
had
have
to
just been
say,
like, "That's"
"You dumb motherfucker."
yeah. That's what I would have been like. Like, I would have been like, "Oh, you know, I feel like I let him down. I should have known, you know, I should have helped him, talked him out of it." It was, you know, he's such a you're meant to be smart. You're fucking stupid. Like,
Honestly, for someone who claims he's the best and the brightest, you're really dumb.
he's got no street smarts. Literally just
Mm-mm.
head empty. Head empty for real. But he's also like
It's
he's
because
such a
so
cunning
much
little
of his life
bastard.
is just, like, served to him. He's never had to,
Yeah.
like, think critically.
Well, this is the thing because this is what's really interesting, right? And like, it depends on how you view it. But the first time he is faced with like quite a conscious choice, he really struggles. Like in that when he's like deciding on whether or not he should like re-record over the recording on the Jabberjay, like he's like at turmoil. He's like, do I just like throw the remote out? Do I just play it resume and like pretend on like nothing happened? Like there's a turmoil there because it's the
Mhm.
first time that he's encountered like an actual fork in the road and not been told like you are going to be a mentor, then you will get this prize, and then you will do this,
Mhm.
and you will do this. And oh no, that didn't work out because we found out blank and blank. You're actually going to go here, and you're going to be a peacekeeper, and you're just going to live by this book. Like it's always been like one road, one path, one set. And he's faced with an actual like like I know there's a conscious choice slightly with him putting the handkerchief in there, but he also just does it and he's like, oops, lol. This is like he's actually thinking, what do I do? And it's like it's the first time he's ever been like had this moment. I'm like, have you made it this far in life?
Yes. Also,
Yeah. And he
I
still
would just like
did
to
the wrong
say
thing, obviously.
yes. I would like to say that Dean Highbottom is, like, the blueprint for how to have beef with children. Like,
He
in
is
the
so funny.
She Shall Who Not Be Named series,
Yeah.
Snape does it poorly. Dean
No.
Highbottom, that's how you have beef. with your
He's
old best friend's children.
such a diva. Like, he's such
He
a
is.
diva. And, like, I wanna say for what, but honestly, no. He's just out here being angsty and bitter, and every reason to, honestly. I'd be pissed too. Like, I'd be a
No,
little
he
bit
is, yeah,
miffed.
he's so valid.
Like, honestly, if I like, we're gonna put ourselves in this scenario, right? Like, we are best
Yeah,
we
yeah,
are best
yeah.
friends. Let's I don't know, none of us would come up with this because we're not sick and twisted in
No,
that way. But let's
correct.
say you decide you have come up with the Hunger Games, and I'm like, okay, I'm concerned. You die, RIP, I'm upset by this. But then I am told, like, your idea was so great. I'm like, what the actual fuck? Like, no, do not associate me with that sick and twisted shit. Like, what the frick? I'd be miffed too. I'd be like, and then you have to live with that? I'm like,
Yeah,
girl, no.
yeah.
And then I have to look at your kid and be like, you motherfucker.
Also, like, we know that Coriolanus is insufferable. So he has to look
He's
at this
proud.
smug little fucking teenager. I would fight him
I
too.
do like the law that we got that they like. I do like the law that we got that they like went to nightclubs and got like absolutely went on benders together. That was so funny.
Yes.
I'm like, that is really funny. Yeah, the way when he like it's such an interesting moment because like at that point you just are like Dean Highbottom is just like he's just one of those like he's one of those adults kind of like Dr. Gore where you're like they're just kind of in it for the money, kind of in it for the like notoriety of everything. They've got this thing. They kind of just live in the high life in the capital, like very elitist, whatever. Like that's kind of the impression that you get, right? It's just like this is their thing that they're doing. They kind of hate everyone else. They just, they're just chugging along in life, like whatever. And then you get that moment where he's like has a moment of vulnerability to be like here's my reason to why we have problems and why I'm like drugged like 90% of the time. And then Stone's like, oh, sucks to suck, bitch.
Then
Sounds
he
like
just
that's
kills
a
him.
you problem.
And then he just kills him.
Honestly, it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny
It is
to listen to
actually.
this man, like, kind of give you a little bit of his sob story, being like, no, like, me and your dad were best friends. Like, this is the story. Like, he made the games. Like, so I feel really, like, awful about this. It's a really difficult thing. I, like, power on kind of thing. And then Snow's like, oh, shame. Guess you don't need to live then. So he's like, you know what, Chief? We're gonna put an end to this. Like, you clearly sound like you want to die. So, like, I'm just assisting that. Like, I'm doing you a favor. Be grateful. Thanks. I'm like, yeah. It's when he like said in the book when it's like that line where he's like, he wouldn't have even noticed that I like, slipped the poison in. And I'm like, do not make this sound like you were like some weird ass dexterous shit. He probably like I'm in my personal headcanon, Dean Highbottom is literally watching him like fiddle around and like poison it and he's like, fuck it. Like at this point, I have nothing. Like, if he wants to go do it, like let him be. I just feel like Dean Highbottom I would in my head, he's watching him and he's thinking, he's poisoning me, the little shit. Like, why come back and ask for that compact? Like he's not fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like, surely he's there, like, yeah. I guess.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll just let him have this moment. Like, I'll let them just be like, I've died of a drug overdose, like, RIP. Let him just take the narrative. In my eyes, I'm like, honestly, not a bad way to go. Just take it on the chin.
Yeah.
Ain't your circus anymore. Ain't your.
He
Just
thinks
let
he's
him
being so
think he's
smooth,
his
but in
own world.
reality, he just set the rat poison on the desk, like flat out. Didn't even put in anything.
Untwists the cap like really boldly in his face, like pours it in. He's just staring at him while talking. Like, personally, I think even if it was this really like sleight of hand thing, I still feel like someone was just like, you're a fucking idiot. Like,
Yeah.
like you don't like there's no reason for him. Like, I know he could want to come from the back for the compact. I get that. I do understand that technically like it does have sentimental value, fine. But you do not come to his office with like that little box being like, I don't think his family would want his diploma in this fuck off. Like, Highbottom's like there with his arms crossed, like, come on. Tell me your reasoning. Go on. Sell me it. Sell me your reason for being here.
Like, clearly Highbottom knows that Coriolanus is the reason Sejanus is dead. I don't
Yeah.
think he is convinced that Coriolanus gives a single fuck about the Plinth family.
He always knew that they did not like. He constantly mentioned it. He would always make snark comments regarding that, like, "Oh, you're his best friend. You saved a seat for him." Like, he knew.
Yeah.
Like, he knows the Snow mindset inside and out. He was always just like such a little bitch towards him, and he had every right to.
Yes. You know who is the true tragedy of this story, though? Mrs. Plinth.
Mrs. Plinth
That
and her
poor
cooking and
woman.
her baking. You have a husband who's a prat and a son who is just too pathetic for the world, like, in a lovely way. Like, she really passed on her pathetic gene, and it was just always gonna end badly, but, like,
Yeah.
bro. I felt like but then again, like, when they help him like, they help Snow when he comes back, I'm like, "Ew,
Mm,
ew!"
I hate it.
They're
I
like,
hate it so
"You don't
much.
have your pet." They're like, "You don't have your parents, and we don't have a son." I'm like, "No, what the fuck is going on here? Like, what is this weird twisted shit? Ew. Your son was nothing like this weird ass man.
Go adopt a
Like,
small
get out of
child in
here."
District 2 and be done with it.
Yeah. Go do anything else but this. But it's like the rich get richer, literally the rich get richer. They just feed off each other all the time. And I'm like, this is so annoying, guys. Like, can we not? Can we not?
It's infuriating.
It is. It really is. I'm so glad he has his downfall. I know it takes a long time, but
Yeah.
you know,
Now that I've read this, I'm like, I wish she would have suffered more.
yeah,
Like, I get why she had to shoot him. I get the narrative, but I wish she would have suffered more.
yeah. But then it's just like that's not the way. Like that's not the way. Like that in itself is exactly what he was doing to people. So it's like, do you really want to scoop to that level? Like it's an interesting thing where it's like, yeah, he should like rot and really struggle, but also it's like, but that is exactly what him and other people in that situation were doing to others, and it's like you don't want to
That's
do that.
true. That's
So
true.
it's really hard where it's like that kind of how do you balance that in a way that feels correct?
I will say, though, I do love that this teenage girl from District 12 managed to, like, push every button this man had without even knowing. I just know that when she started singing The Hanging Tree, that man was shitting himself.
He was like I think he suffered in the sense that he was still like whether or not he believed Lucy Gray lived, I think he was on somewhat always on edge of that.
That she'll just appear.
Yeah, because it's like you have and like because the games got like scrubbed and she kind of became an unknown, people aren't gonna necessarily recognize her, you know. So
Mhm.
like she could just appear, like that's the problem, right? No one's gonna be like, oh, it's that person who won the games, like. So that's
Yeah.
why I think there was always that triggering point there. But yeah, the fact that like it's like I know obviously it makes sense like narratively, but the fact that like a woman ruined his life is so great. I'm like, yes,
Yes. As
like
she should.
as deserved. Like, yeah, I do think, like, the singing, the bow, like, all those moments, I'm like, I bet he was in bed, like, writing in his diary, like, "Ah!"
He's got, like, the Mean Girls, like, burn book. This fugly bitch.
Cuts out a photo and Prit sticks it in. Scan.
Yes. I find it interesting too, like, knowing the time he spent in District 12. Like, obviously, he
Mm,
couldn't, like, do too much without people being like, "That's suspicious." But it's interesting to know that so much of District 12 still operates in the same way, and that he
yeah.
just, like, let that be.
Yeah. He kind of, like it
It's
is
fun.
interesting. That yeah, it is
Because, like, we know the
interesting.
Hob is still around. They're not doing concerts anymore, but we know, like, the black market is still there. The whole fence thing, like, they point that out, like, the fence without the electric and stuff like that, and, like,
Mm.
spots for people to run away and, like, stuff like that. So it is just interesting that he became
I
president
wonder
and
if
he
he
was just like,
fears I wonder if he fears that if he does something, someone from 12 would there'd be a spark, you know?
"Yeah.
Like, I wonder I think he constantly is haunted by that, like, to some
Yeah.
degree. I think he would pretend that that's not the case, but I think it is. It's like, he doesn't know who is still there, he doesn't know what's still going on, he doesn't know what
Mhm.
impression he left on other piece like, on the other piece like, he doesn't know what happened there, he doesn't know where the Covey are, like, what happened because he's like I think that's also the thing, right? Like, he knows that Lucy Gray left them, like, in the house, like, where they were staying he has
Mhm.
no idea if they then moved on. Presumably, yes, because they said they like to travel, but they might not have. He has no idea. And he know, like that he knows that they would know that they had gone together.
Mhm.
Because Tam Amber was like awake when Lucy Gray left. And I'm assuming like even if Lucy Gray didn't say explicitly, you put two and two together, like
Yeah.
surely. So I wonder that must be weird to deal with, where you're like, "These people know that I was with her, and now
Yeah.
she's missing." And, like, I know she's ran away, but it's like but then you, like, presumably will then show up in the capital, and then at one point, if they are still in 12 or they're in a district and they are like, forced to watch the Hunger Games and they see him as president, that's sick and twisted, bro.
Kind of hope we get not it doesn't even have to be an outright interaction. I would just love some sort of, like, Easter egg of them in Sunrise on the Reaping,
I wonder if
especially
we'll get
because
a
like
mention of them.
because it's only been 15 years.
Mhm.
Maud
Yeah. It's
Ivory's,
possible.
on the younger end, so, like, it's
Yeah,
very plausible.
that's
She's still
true.
there, she's still around.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Because again, like the word like Lucy Gray isn't completely erased from the narrative. Like we know that there's like the majority of people are unaware, but
Yes.
there's murmurs of it like rippling in some
Mhm.
people's. So I wonder if maybe we'll get kind of the little murmurs of it maybe with Haymitch winning. I wonder if there's a little bit of a because they're gonna spin the narrative like, "Oh, District 12, like, woohoo, like, you won finally," but it's like, "Hey, like,
First
no,
time.
yes, like, first time," and it's like, I wonder if there'll be murmurs then. I wonder if that's kind of when it starts to
Yeah.
blip a little bit up. Because that would make sense, right? Like, some people being like, "That's not correct, like, I swear this, like, girl won." Like, I wonder if
Mhm.
that's 'cause you also have, like, Mayfair as well and, like, the whole, like, putting the like, making her dad the mayor, put the name in the reaping. I wonder, like, she'll obviously be older, like, there's the idea of the mayor's
Mhm.
family being still involved there, so it's like they know they have money, maybe, question mark, they have some sort of influence, like, there's a lot of things
Yeah.
there with the murders as well, and I'm like, I feel like there's a little bit of that could crop back up again with Haymitch winning.
Mhm.
I wonder if that'll be what the spark is. And he'll be like, "Hey," someone will be like, "You're not the first person who won it. Get off your fucking wheels." I'm sure they wouldn't say it like that, but maybe.
Yeah. No, for sure. I'm intrigued because, like, they mentioned and you kind of brought it up a little bit ago about how the Coveys would travel, and I'm like,
Mm.
"How did they do that?" Like, I was kind of under the impression that wherever you were born, you stay there, and maybe it's just by
Yeah.
the time we get to Katniss's point of view, like, it's more locked down, but, like,
I think
it
that
kinda
is
just seems that,
yeah.
like, you are in your district and you do not leave your district.
I think there are ways, like, I think there is definitely, like, the way, and I think we see an uprise of, like an increase of, like, security measures to ensure that doesn't happen, and I wonder if that's a Snow thing where he knows that the Covey
Maybe.
travels, and I wonder if he tries to, like, shut that down, keep them on the outskirts from drifting in, like, I don't know. Because he knows, like, he has this knowledge that people can leave, like, Sejanus almost did that. He almost helped people leave. He almost was part of that. Like, there's knowledge
Yeah.
that that is something that can happen because there's clearly not the infrastructure in place, especially like, you have these people at the barracks after time, like getting absolute blasted. Like, there's a little less infrastructure there. So I wonder if that's when we see a bit of an increase, like money going to that kind of thing, locking things down because it makes sense. There's an intention
Mhm.
to now because he's seen it. Because he did say like he learned so much whilst out there, and I'm like, you didn't learn shit, you didn't do anything. But then I'm like, actually, he did learn a lot because he learned how
Yeah.
districts run and how districts can exploit weaknesses elsewhere. So it's
Mhm.
like, they side with the people there, like Sejanus. They find the weak links, they barter with them, they take the money, they take the weapons. I'm like, that's gonna be a big no-no for him. He's like, "Oh, no, I'm afraid I get beaten up." Just because he's insecure man. Insecure men ruin the world.
Ugh, the worst.
Fact.
That actually hits a little too close to home now. Oof.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's like, yeah, they do. They just do, don't they? Because they just have to give it all. They just have to do the most.
They do.
They have to do the most. And I'm like, really though?
Okay. I wanna touch on one more thing. The Sunrise on the Reaping movie. We don't have a
Mhm.
cast yet. Do you think they're going to cast a young Woody Harrelson, or do you think they're going to cast for Haymitch?
I think they're gonna cast young Woody Harrelson. I just think for continuity
I think so
purposes in
too.
their eyes, that makes the most sense. Although I feel like you could get away. 'Cause, I think it's hard because when you look at Tom Blythe, you're like, that is Snow, but it's also like, there is a nut like, but then there's so much age difference where you're like, it kinda doesn't matter. Whereas I feel
Yeah.
like for Haymitch, it kinda does matter a little bit because there's less of a gap. There has to be some feasibility that someone has aged, like yeah, 'cause yeah. I mean, I guess it
I just know
depends.
it's
I guess
hard
it really
because
depends.
Haymitch and Katniss were both I don't know if whitewashed is the right word.
Yeah, but definitely not probably appropriate
Yeah.
casting for their
Think
district.
I think it's supposed to kind of imply that they're of
Yes.
color to some degree.
I would agree with that sentiment, especially with the casting in Songbirds and like, obviously it means nothing, like, I know Lucy Grace of Covey, and I know Rachel's casting was in itself controversial because of that, and, like, the Covey
Mhm.
obviously has connotations to traveling people, like, and that's a big thing,
Yeah.
like, do I have the intellectual knowledge on that? No, I don't, but, I know that that's a thing and people were, like, upset by that, and I understand that fully. So, like, was casted when Jessup was casting, that feels like that was but it's hard, right? Because it's like we don't know, what we don't know what the, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm looking for a word, and I don't know what it is. But it definitely feels like there is an intention there that you have is like a race divide as alongside class divide, which is true in
Mhm.
societal ways a lot of the way as well. So,
'Cause I'm curious,
it is interesting.
I wanna look at the map of Panem over the United States, because obviously people of color live all over.
Everywhere, yeah, yeah.
But I know, like, District
Yeah,
12 is, like, where it's
where it
supposed to
sits.
be. Yeah, because it's actually, that's fascinating. So many states are actually just cut off. Also, we apparently overtook Canada in this. That's a little too on the nose as well.
Yikes. It's a bit too real, isn't it?
Yeah, because 12 is, like looks like God, I'm actually shit at geography. I think that's, like, supposed to be, like, West Virginia area-ish. It spans over, like, a few states, but it's definitely, like, middle south, not quite the coast,
Mhm.
which I think I've heard people say too, like, it's and I think this kind of is why Rachel did kind of the accent she did. It's definitely giving kind of, like, Appalachia area.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's a weird it's definitely a weird, one because it's, like, it's not it's literal, but it's, like, not literal in the way that the districts lay out to geography, and there's also so many factors that impact those things as well, like, if people
mhm,
have moved, do move, continue to move, if people are made to shoved down into different districts, like, there's so much there. It is interesting though, because in the movie, like, in the original, trilogy, when we have a look of 12, it is very white.
yes.
Um, I mean, to be fair, so is a lot of the movie. Well, like
Yes.
99% of the movie. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't necessarily think it's probably the best representation, full stop, but also probably, the literal
Yeah.
representation that was maybe intended as well, because it's a bit
I just know, like, point blank, Haymitch shouldn't be blonde.
no, probably not, no.
He has dark hair. He's described with dark hair.
I wonder if they'll be like, "He bleached it, lol."
But I do know a lot of people are gunning for oh my god, what's his name from House of the Dragon?
Oh, I think I
Like,
know
if
who
they're
you
gonna
mean, I don't
cast
know
a
his name either.
young I think his name is also Tom, actually.
Oh, really? I don't know his name. I think I know who you mean because 'cause I've seen him in Final Cast, and I'm like, "I guess.
Young
I get it," but I'm also
uh,
like, "I don't know."
guy who plays
I'm also
Aegon, where
Googling.
is he? Why is this cast so in such a weird order?
I'm sorry, but the rumors that Mike
Yeah,
Feist will be Haymitch is so funny. So I'm like, "That man is not like, what the fuck is that? Are you kidding?"
yes,
Did you not see those
it's
rumors when they first circulated? I was like, "Are you
I did
kidding
not
me?"
Tom Glenn Carney.
Yeah. Yes, I do know who that is. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I see it, but I'm also like, I feel like there's better people out there. No offense, like, I'm sure he would do a fine job, but it's also like, I don't know, let someone have their moment, you know?
Yeah, I would really love to see, like, an unknown kind of hit the
Yeah.
scene, and they don't even have to be completely unknown, but just, like, a lesser known.
Yeah, because it's like, this is a really, this is a really huge role because it's a lot to take on because you have pre-existing knowledge of how the character turns out. You have an
Yes.
already existing, representation and, like, what is the word? Portrayal is the word I'm looking for. Portrayal of his character,
Mhm,
like an older
mhm.
version. So it's like there's so much that you have to do in that. So I'm like, you gotta, I don't know.
You
Why
know
don't we
who the
just
other
cast
person I've
Woody
seen?
Harrelson and just CGI him younger?
Oh my god, yes. I've also seen a lot of people gunning for Walker Scobell, which while
I
I
think he
think he
do
would do great, I don't want it.
not no, neither do I. I'm like, that is not his role. That is
Mm-mm.
and I know he's been typecasted, and, like, I do feel for that, but I'm like, maybe this would be a good step in a different direction, but I'm like, I don't want that personally. Thank you.
Yes. And I think Walker's a phenomenal actor.
Yeah. I think he'd do a brilliant job, but I'm just like, I just don't know if that's necessarily the vibe, you
What
know?
I
I don't know if
really
that's
want
necessarily the vibe.
I want not only Haymitch, but all of the other tributes to be, like, as close to accurate as you can, because I think that's the other thing about, like and don't get me wrong, I
Yes.
love Josh Hutcherson. You know that I would go to war for that man. But him and
Mhm.
Jennifer Lawrence were just too old to play Katniss and Peeta that it really loses the fact that these are children
Yeah.
going
No, that's
into
the
an
thing.
arena.
That's the really the problem is yeah, that's what's interesting because Songbirds and Snakes, like, yes, Rachel does not like she looks too old, I think as well. Like, unfortunately, I think a lot of the characters look too old. I get it. It's just the way that Hollywood casts. But there are a few tributes in that arena, and I'm like, that is a fucking child. And it looks like a child and it hurts. Because I'm like, that is a child. Like,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
it's like they and it's it sucks. Like, because I think even Rue, where I'm like, you can tell she's a child, but I'm also like, they're still a little bit too old. Like, still a
Mhm.
little bit too old, but it still hits the same. There's some that I'm like,
Yes.
this is good. Like, this feels real. Like, I see this as like a someone who is younger than me, but a lot of the time I'm like, no, that is someone older than me or my age, and you can tell.
And, like, I get it, like, child labor laws and, like, acting and all that. I
Of
get that
course,
it makes
yeah,
it
duh.
very hard, and obviously, I'm not saying let's get rid of that, but I just would love to get, like, as close as possible. Because like, I think about not to bring in our other hyperfixation, but, like, Yellow Jackets.
Yeah.
They so many of them, even though they're, like, mid to some late 20s, still look very much like teenagers. Like, the actress who plays Callie is, like, fucking 30.
She's like, I know, and the actor who plays Travis is like 29. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
Dude,
Like, to be fair, he still
Travis
looks a
and
bit older,
Ben's,
but yeah,
they're, like, 2
being
or
like a
3
year
years
apart or
apart.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
So, like,
but they look
that's what I'm
like
saying.
not that his actor looks old, but they look
No.
vastly different in age.
Yes. Yes. So give me baby-faced people who can pull that off. That's what I want. Get me the youngest looking that you can pull.
Yeah, almost
What
fresh
I
out of the
really wanna
womb, but
know
like still developed. Frontal lobe needs to be developed, but like fresh.
really wanna know who's gonna play President Snow, though. That's my big thing, because we're at more of, like, a midway point. Like, obviously, Donald Sutherland was phenomenal
I
for him.
I think you can still put Tom Blythe in that role with makeup and effects.
I think yes.
Because
I
you
think
can
you
it's
could.
easier to age someone than de-age them for obvious reasons.
Yes. I'm just
I
I'm just
wonder if
curious
that's the
because I
easiest
feel like
option, because then you have 3 Snows running around.
no, and the only reason I say it is just because, like you were
It's
saying
weird.
earlier, yeah, Songbirds and Snakes Snow and Hunger Games Snow are so vastly different because, like, you're looking at someone in his youth versus, like, clearly a lot of time has passed, so, like, the mannerisms don't have to match up quite as much because, like, who you are at 18 and who you are at, I don't know, 50, 60, however
Mhm.
old he is at that point, like, that can change. Whoever is in Sunrise on the Reaping, it's more of a midway point, so it's going to be a really fine line to, like, connect that
Yeah.
to who he becomes in Hunger Games and, like, matching some of Donald Sutherland's acting, and, like, shedding some of that Songbirds and Snakes
Mm.
persona. Because like, at that point, let's what do we say? He became in the 15th games, so he's been president for 10 years at this point, like, he's not going to be the same, like, dim-witted, cocky teenager he
No.
was anymore.
No.
And
No.
I'm gonna
I'd
be
just be
honest, I've
interested,
not
like,
seen anything else that Tom Blythe has been in, so I can't speak to his acting skills. Maybe he would, like, absolutely
no,
nail it. I don't know.
he is a good actor. I'd be interested because it feels like the easiest choice would to be him have to reprise the role, A, because he has prior knowledge of the role,
Mhm.
which obviously helps. You age him up a bit, you change his vibe, his style. I also think there was a clear change in his behavior, in his acting throughout the movie. The way when the story progressed, there was a lot more, like, erraticism coming out a little bit later on. We kind of see the little bit of loss of control, like, not, like, hugely, obviously, but you do see that. I'd be interested to see if he were to take up the role, where he takes it, especially because, like you said, you do have like an endpoint. You have what it looks like in the future. You do have to road work that out. That's why it's also interesting with Haymitch, where it's like you have an endpoint. You have to kind of align, not
Mhm.
massively so, but like to a degree. So I'd be interested to see, because I just think like I personally wouldn't care. I'm like, I don't give a shit. But I think a lot of people would be bothered if you, like I said, if you had 3 different Snows running around. It's a bit like, is this a bit stupid? Maybe a little bit. I don't know. I don't think it really matters, to be honest. It's kind of whatever, but 'cause I'm trying to think who would play that age. I'm trying to think of who would be good for that role at that age, and I don't know. No one springs to mind. I'm sure there's plenty of people, but I have
Yeah.
no thoughts or ideas.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Does Kiefer Sutherland have any children that act?
Don't know.
Only a daughter. Doesn't really help us, does it?
No, not particularly. Yeah, I don't
Let's
know
just say just
any,
keep it in the
like,
family.
oh my god, you know who we should cast as clearly Pedro Pascal, like the one person who gets cast as all those roles at the moment. Listen, I love Pedro, but come on, we cast him in everything now.
No, for real.
Let's move on. Oh my god, Tom Holland time! The same 4 people who get cast in the same 5 things. Maybe we
Yeah.
should cast Mike Feist, but not as Haymitch, as Snow. Spice it up a bit. Just go
We'll put
haywire
together
a
a
little
fan
bit. Just go off the
cast.
rails.
We'll put
I
together our own
will.
fan
I'm gonna put
cast.
together a fan cast. I'm gonna put together a fan cast on our TikTok, but I'm gonna purposely make it like horrific and see if people take it literally. Like not quite horrific, like just slightly wonky, where people are like, "This is a
You gotta start
choice,"
out with
you know?
like 2 decent ones, and then as it
I'll do
progresses,
Drew
just get a little
Starkey.
more
I'll do
unhinged.
Drew Starkey as young Haymitch. Yeah, Drew Starkey as young Haymitch because I know some people threw that around. Like it's a choice, it's a choice. And then by the end, I'll be like Pedro Pascal as Snow. No, I would not do that.
Yes. Incredible.
Hugh
Any
Jackman
final thoughts?
as President Snow. No.
No.
No final thoughts. I've lost my brain cells.
That's fair.
I've
That's
lost
fair.
my brain cells.
Alright, well, this
Yeah.
has been fascinating.
I'm
I
good.
don't know when I'm gonna read Sunrise on the
I'm
Reaping.
excited.
Me too. I just have to wait for the library because I'm not gonna buy a copy
No,
until I
I
can
don't
get
know either.
one of these. So
Yes, me too. Yeah, I'm the same. I'm on the same boat. I want my edition to match, so I'm also probably gonna wait on the library. So we'll see when that happens.
I
I
put it
also
on
have put it on
hold. It
hold,
already says
so
several
we'll
months.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine says for some months as well, but I'm hoping people read it really, really fast because they're excited, so I could like power through it a little bit.
Or
Maybe
I'm
that's
hoping
wishful
people like
thinking, but
I think the library will obtain more copies, which will help.
yes, probably. Yeah.
And B, I'm hoping people be like, "Oh, I'm actually not ready to read this yet. Put it back on hold for me. Somebody else can have it." And it'll just
Or they'll go out and buy the copies of it because they're like, I'm too impatient
yes.
to wait.
Yeah, true.
Which listen, I
Also
don't promote people going out and I don't promote people like listen, do I enjoy buying books? Yes. But like, use free resources, please. Like it's important. Libraries are really, really important. Like please continue to support and fund libraries. They are staples of our community. But also I'm like,
yes.
if you want to let me and Emily like jump the queue a bit in our holds, like that'd be really generous.
In our specific areas though.
Yeah. Everywhere else, just like, no. But yeah, we'll see. Apparently, mine's an 11-week wait.
But now I want to check mine.
I'm 42nd in line, and they are getting more copies. So maybe it won't be as long as I once first thought. Because there's 8
Okay,
copies.
4 copies.
And
Yeah, mine says 4 copies ordered. 195 people waiting in total. 124 per copy. But I am 40th in line, so it still says several months.
so there's 8 copies, but they said that more on the way. So yeah, it's interesting because obviously you have like such a bigger sample pool compared to me. Like mine is like
Yeah.
my very small library.
Mhm.
Yeah, so 0 of 8 available, 5 holes on each copy, and I'm 42nd in line. But that apparently they said that they have 2 more orders coming in, so I'll probably bump
Okay.
up. So thank the Lord, but
I'm curious,
we'll see.
how fast is the
It also depends how
audiobook supposed
fast
to
people
be
get
out?
through it.
Yeah.
Well, I can also place a hold for that. I might do both. But that says several months waiting, though. I'm going to put a hold on both.
Yeah, see,
We'll
I can't even place a hold on the audio. Is it coming out the same day? Because I know they announced, like, the narrator.
Yeah, I think so. I think it does. Yeah, 18th of March is what it says on my Libby app.
Okay.
Justin White is the narrator. 13 hours. There's only one available. Well, that's a bit stupid. Yeah.
How long was Songbirds and Snakes? I'm trying to pull it up and it's being stupid.
I'm sorry.
Hello?
I don't know how long. I'm also trying to find it, but I can't find it. Hello? 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 Why is it not available?
Oh, okay, this one's about 16 hours.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I was going to say, it's definitely meant to be long. Well, it's definitely longer. Fair enough. Yeah. Oof.
All right, well, we'll be back with thoughts on it at some point.
Yeah, whenever we get to read it. So, you know, if it doesn't come out, if you're listening to this like 3 months in the future and there's been no episode, we're still waiting. One of us is probably still waiting. Probably you.
Probably me.
I wonder when they'll bring out the edition though. Like, I wonder how long it will take them to make the matchy.
Hope not long, just because like these are fairly new, and like obviously, I think when these were coming out, they knew the other book was coming. So, but these came out hardback first, and then paperback. So
that's true. Because at the end of Songwriters and Snakes, there is promo to Songwriters and everything. So in the back of the book. So, yep. In the few final pages, it says coming soon.
My physical.
Oh, that's because I read it. So I does yours not? Mine does.
Mine is the epilogue and then acknowledgements.
Pause. Really? Oh, mine has stuff in the back. That's really interesting.
Nope.
Intermittent episode retrieval of stuff. Yeah, look. See? At the back, last page of my book has promo to it. So yeah, the story we've all been waiting for. So yeah, that is so interesting.
And then acknowledgements, and then that's it.
Well, your acknowledgements are longer than mine.
Are they? No.
Yeah, you have like an extra half a page.
Here's about the author. This is about the author. Sorry,
I don't have that. What? This is so interesting because they are the same book, like from the same set. How weird.
Yeah.
I wonder if there must be UK and US differences. Yeah, because my About the Author's the first thing. It's here. It's at the start of the book.
Interesting.
Maybe there's UK and US differences. Or I'm presumably obviously other countries as well. You know, if you have these editions and yours has different things, let us know. I'm curious now. Bit odd. Scholastic, what's up with this, Chief? Why are there little different quirks? Not that it really matters, it's not that serious, but I'm curious now.
Give us answers.
How weird. Give us answers, please. Yeah. So I definitely want to match them. Because they're beautiful and they're my prized possession on my bookshelf.
Yes.
And I love reading it on the train. I felt very bougie. I was like, look at my special book. Sure, everyone else felt the same, clearly.
All right. We'll be back in a couple weeks with something else to yap about. Bye.
Yeah, definitely. We'll cycle through our 5 interests. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a new episode. To stay connected with us, then follow us on social media, which are linked in the description. I've been Emily.
And I've been Scar.
Tune in next time for the best cottagecore podcast for the cottage whores.